Sergio Kitchens, known as Gunner, took an Alford plea. In open court, he admitted that YSL is a gang and that YSL needs to be stopped and that he has knowledge of YSL crimes. A lot of people are saying what he stated in open court is snitching. And I agree. But if it took for you to see him say that in open court, to know that he was turning state, you are asleep. It's something you really need to know. Without him even declaring what he declared in court, I knew that he turned state. Before I go there, let me say this here. An Alford plea is a plea that can only be accepted by the judge if there is strong indication of guilt. Remember that, strong indication of guilt. No matter if you assert your innocence and you plead guilty, it's still a guilty verdict. It's a psychological game that they play to the ignorant, the dumb, and the uneducated. Those pleas are very rare, and they are a desperate measure, meaning the prosecutor working through your attorney had to convince you that it is in your best interest to jump ship now, or we're going to go to somebody else that's willing to say whatever we want them to say, and we will no longer put this offer on the table for you. Gunner and his attorney had a conflict of interest. Gunner needed money to pay his attorneys. Remember, when they went to the bond hearing, they pledged his mother home, his father home, to make bail. So the fact that Gunner had to put up his mother and father home to make bond is a clear indication that he has no money to continue to fight this case. Okay? So he looked at it, as well as his attorneys with the prosecutor, from a business perspective, because it is in his interest not to go to prison where he'll be broke, where he can't help his family. Does it make it right? No, it doesn't make it right. But once again, after all, it's business. If you are surprised that this ignorant African-American man know nothing but flashing money and jewelry, if you are surprised at the lack of stamina that this man did not possess, you need to really reevaluate your gangsterhood. Because anybody can look at that boy and tell he's softer than cotton. He is softer than cotton. His attorneys prepared statements for him to say. Those statements are bogus. In order to enter a plea bargain with the prosecutor, the way he did and another member did to get out, remember, people, I gave everybody an opportunity to speak on this snitching. But none of them is about to mention what I'm about to mention. So as you will, it will become crystal clear when I'm finished with this video that they didn't really understand what they was really talking about. They just see, oh, he's snitching. Yeah, that's true. Based on what he said in that courtroom, true. But even if I didn't see that, the plea bargain process itself tells you he's snitching. Now, there's this thing that once you plead guilty with the prosecutor, I don't care if it's a plea of guilt for a lesser included offense with reduced time with a recommendation for time given to the judge, or if you receive more favorable treatment than your co-conspirator. In any event, this doesn't apply if it's just a job you was in and you charged by yourself. Whenever you have a co-conspirator, whether it's a RICO case or you just have a co-defendants in a case, and one or more of those defendants receive favorable treatment in a plea bargain to where they are going to prison on a very short sentence or avoiding prison altogether to where you are getting a lot of time, they snitch to the prosecutor. Because in order for them to take the plea bargain, they have this thing called, I want you to remember, a pre-sentence report that must be done. Now, in that pre-sentence report, I'm not concerned about the other stuff they put in there, but I'm concerned about this is mandatory. That person must state the facts surrounding that crime. He must contextualize the crime. He must give what they call contextual information, meaning he must tell it. He must tell the circumstances around in that crime. This is how I know that everybody that takes a plea that has a co-conspirator or under RICO charges, and they do what Gunner did and this other guy did, they snitching. They snitching. Because if you go look up contextual information, you'll understand that's what they must give in the when they must let the prosecutor know what happened. And here's what they do with this information. But let me be clear before I go any further. No one else has mentioned a pre-sentence report. Because a lot of these people out here trying to act like they know what's going on. The reason why these so-called gangsters getting on the media saying gonna snitch and this and that, 99% of them snitch too. You just don't know it because the pre-sentence report is confidential. They can't use it against nobody because they can't bring that witness forth. You will never know this, but you know it now. You know it now. So just go Google pre-sentence report. And what happens is when they make this pre-sentence report, a lot of time the prosecutor behind closed doors is telling, he'll tell a guy, write down everything. And the prosecutor read, he said, well, I need to know this and this. And they keep putting this information in there. And then the probation officer go verify this information. In other words, it must be corroborated. This investigator, the probation investigator will visit your mom, your friends, and additional defendants in prison. But you will never know this. They're not going to tell you because they know what they are doing. Remember, people, the pre-sentence report, this is how they determine, and this go to the judge. So the judge, this is what I'm telling y'all, the judge that's over Young Thug case, he already know certain information that before the trial start. This is why the whole criminal process is a fraud, people. Because in that pre-sentence report determines if the judge want to give you this type of sentence for the information you gave, if you want to send you to this type of prison. They use those to see who they're going to give favorable treatment to when they send them to prison. Now, if you know anybody that's been to prison, they know that a lot of times when a person come down, you can find out if they snitch. The way that they do this is this. Your pre-sentence report goes to prison with you. A copy of that go to prison. Majors, lieutenants, and captains and the warden has access to that information. And so when they get there and they know you're a gang member, they can pull this. And this is how a lot of those prison officials control gang members. Okay? They know, and they can put the word out. We need to know what's up with this guy. Oh yeah, he snitched. This is how they be knowing you snitch when you go to prison. If somebody leak it within the prison. Just do your research on a pre-sentence report. This is something that them lawyers in this case, gunner lawyer and them ain't gonna tell you about, because they know that 99% of the people who don't know the law, who don't represent themselves, won't know this, but you know it now. You know this now. So go Google pre-sentence report and see what information they put in there and how they use it. This is why sometimes people don't understand why in the feds or the state, when people are cooperating with the prosecutor, they getting these better deals going to these minimum security units. Now, remember people, plea bargains are contracts. Now, you know Garner's lawyer put out a statement that he's not going to testify against no one. He don't have to. You don't have to, okay? Because you gave them all the information they need to know in a pre-sentence report. You see what I'm saying? You gave the prosecutor contextual information concerning the YSL alleged gang, okay? And their alleged criminal activity. And so what they do, they take this information and they go to other members saying, I bet you wondering how we knew this here. I bet you say they talking. I bet you wondering how we knew this here. We wouldn't know this here unless they told us this here. And then they start snitching against one another. They go to jumping ship. And this is what they did to Gunner and the other guy that got out. They got somebody to tell them something, because like I said in my previous video about this, they never had anything. They needed to get them locked up and getting them talking. Now, so a lot of one cat on here, I think his name Rodrigo's on mistakes. He said, Gunner got to testify when he called. No, he don't. Look at the contract. He can invoke the Fifth Amendment. But they're not going to call Gunner to testify. They don't need him to testify. The whole purpose of getting Gunner to declare what he declared in court was to put his life and his family in danger. That was the whole reason why the prosecutor had him admit that. There is no other reason. Because in order, I may have missed it. I did not hear the judge swear in Gunner. I just heard the prosecutor asking questions. So if he did, despite the fact we know that he snitched in open court by making these statements, it is not testimony if the court did not swear Gunner in. Only a judge can swear you in to give testimony, not a prosecutor. A prosecutor just can't ask you, court, you're not under oath. Okay? Now, that's what a lot of people not understanding. I see the prosecutor asking questions, but I never seen him being sworn in. But either way, those statements he made for the purpose of making Young Thug think that they have a case. But the primary purpose was to put Sergio Kitchens and his family life in jeopardy by anybody who may want to retaliate for him being a rat. That was the whole reason, people. Now, when you look at the fact that Brian Steele, the attorney for Young Thug, states the problem with this case is everything that the prosecutor is asserting and alleging is coming from people cutting deals. So Brian Steele has already stated, if you've been watching, who's telling it. Okay? So you didn't need to hear what Gunner said in court to know this. All you had to do is listen at the attorney Brian Steele's statement and understand a pre-sentence report after a plea bargain of guilt or after a guilty verdict. But especially when you're doing a plea bargain. To get the best plea, you have to give that prosecutor something they can use. Although Sergio Kitchens and anybody else that gave this information in a plea bargain, and they put it in that pre-sentence report, they're not going to take the stand. Because Brian Steele, through discovery, already know who will be testifying. He already know who will be testifying. Brian still been Young Thug's attorney for, I believe, a decade. In the way that they got to Sergio Kitchens, Gunner, and the other guy, the prosecutor say, hey, this guy got an attorney, he got money. Y'all don't. You got to put your mom and dad house up. He got money. He got a long-time attorney. How you think this going to turn out for y'all? They turned this so-called street dude. They played him with simple tactics. And now he is out here, and the first thing he did, go live or get in front of the camera, showing jewelry, drinking, drink. That's the sum total of what you're dealing with, a moron, okay? So don't be surprised when you see these so-called tough black dudes, stupid and dumb, trying to navigate the legal waters and don't know anything. Don't be surprised when they flip. They have always been like that. It just took a situation to test and bring that out. Plain and simple. So why do the rap community pretend as this is a surprise when half of the rap community, if you ever been indicted as a co-conspirator or in any type of conspiracy with other people, if you received a favorable deal, okay, while they got a harsh deal and you took a plea, you snitched. It's confidential because it would be in your pre-sentence report, but it's confidential. This is why they don't release that. They use that when they go in front of that judge, and when other people go in front of that judge, a lot of times have their mind made up because that co-defendant gave so much information implicating you. And a lot of times they say, we just gonna railroad you, but we can't bring this out, but we believe this guy. And this is how they throw you away. So remember, people, the pre-sentence report will conclusively demonstrate what Gunner or anybody told them. They want you to believe that they did an Alford plea and they maintained their innocence. Once again, people, the only way a judge can accept there must be a factual basis and a strong presumption that you are guilty. Otherwise, they cannot accept such a plea. Now, y'all remember the Memphis 3? That these teenage boys, they was accused of killing 3 8-year-olds years ago. There was no evidence for their conviction, but they convicted them. They convinced the jury that these boys listened to rock and roll and they were satanic devil worshippers, and they killed these 3 kids. No evidence whatsoever. Years later, DNA come out and they say they want to test it. The state refused to let them test it and still won't test it. Okay. So they bring them back after the court found out this new DNA procedure. The court stated that based on that new evidence finding, it don't point to the Memphis 3. It don't point to them. So what the prosecutor do through these court-appointed attorneys, they tricked these 3 guys. One of the guys got death row, the other 2 didn't. What they did, they say, hey, look, we willing to free y'all today if y'all take the Alford plea. But all 3 of y'all have to agree to take it. Or if you don't, it's off the table for everybody. The other 2 guys agreed to take it to get they freeing off death row. See, the court-appointed attorneys or whoever represented those Memphis 3, they conspired with the prosecutor to trick these guys because once that, I believe there was appeals court, once that court made that declaration that the new evidence don't point to those 3 guys, he would have got off death row anyway. That statement by the court would have got him off death row anyway. The whole reason for getting those guys to take the Alford plea was to prevent them from suing the state for malicious prosecution and getting compensation. In other words, they played these 3 men out of millions of dollars, okay? Right now, they don't even want to test that DNA. They don't even care about who the murder was because the underlying factor is money, people. Go back and read about the Memphis 3. And the reason why they had Sergio take an Alford plea is so that, hey, you can't sue us. because in truth, they really didn't have anything against him. But when they start getting nippers here from people, hey, they brought it to him, and he thinking, how did y'all know that somebody must be talking? So yeah, it's undisputed that when you take an Alford plea and you make those admissions in court, it's already clearly established that you are turning state. So whether he take the stand and call or take the stand is irrelevant. The fact that in order for you to get the benefits that you got in the way that you got them, people saying, oh, his crime wasn't really that serious. It was a crime that can put him in prison from 5 to 10 years. 5 to 20 years. And he didn't want that. So, yeah, that's very substantial to be taking your freedom and be just gone 5 years. Oh, that's very substantial. So he looked at it like this here. It wasn't about my family need me. It was about this is who I am. This is who I have always been. Under pressure, I crumble like a dry cookie. Good morning to all my subscribers. Thank you for subscribing, and y'all have a nice day.